Hello and welcome to Bowl of Ideas, the podcast discussing all things poetry. My name is James Carter-Geddes. I read English literature at the University of St Andrews, and I am the host of this podcast. Why should you listen to some lowly student ramble on about poets and their works when you could plug into professional podcasters and academics with much more experience? Well, I don't know really. You tuned into this podcast. Come and join me as I invite a very special guest each episode to discuss their favourite poet. We will read together, laugh together, and maybe even cry together, but all in the good name of poetry. So, give us a follow, drop us a like, and enjoy this episode of Bowl of Ideas. Hello, today I am joined by Theo Kitchener, undergraduate student at Jesus College, University of Oxford, and you're reading English literature and language, is that right, Theo?
Yeah, that's right.
Best subject, no faults there at all. Theo, I feel like before we dive in, we should just get to know you a bit better. So can you share 3 fun facts about yourself? They can be, more high literary achievement facts, or they can be
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Okay, so I write poetry myself and have always kind of loved writing poetry. I actually write for my college chapel, and we every week perform an evensong, and I write for that, which is very exciting, very fun. The second is I worked as Spider-Man for 3 years, acting as Spider-Man. That's probably a fun fact. And the third one, I really love traveling, and me and my family left school and left the country for a year and backpacked around the world traveling, which was, there you go, 3 fun facts all about me.
Brilliant. Well, now that we know you so much better, let's dive into this episode. So, who are we going to be looking at today? Well, we're going to be looking at a best-selling and critically acclaimed author, and a very proud Canadian, I should add. She's published all sorts of works, from novels to children's fiction, short stories, non-fiction, even opera libretti. I mean, that's pretty impressive. But most importantly for this podcast, she is a poet. And aside from her, quite famous dystopian novel, The Handmaid's Tale, about a fundamentalist regime called Gilead. But who am I talking about, Theo?
So Margaret Atwood, we're very much, as you said, specifying on her kind of her poetry, and we're really going to look at the themes of which she speaks about. So we're looking at the anthology Dearly, specifically, published in around 2020. But I guess some of the themes that she works through all of her works are kind of history, nature and climate change, oppression. She talks about aging and loss and identity. And I guess we've only got time to kind of look at some of these in more detail, but she really does look at everything. I think is the main thing with her.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, big span of themes. As you say, we'll touch on a few of those. What we kind of do in this podcast is we bring a couple of poems to the table, kind of use them as springboards to explore all those interesting techniques and styles and themes of hers that you've just mentioned. And then we will kind of discuss it. So without much further ado, I think we will go into our first poem. So, we're going to be starting with Dearly, as you said, published in November 2020. Thea, tell us, before we read the titular poem, a bit more about this anthology.
Yeah, so this was written over quite a long span, so between 2008 and 2019. And it kind of, it's dominated by nature and writing about eco poetry. but the overarching theme is of kind of loss, and it's quite interesting that this is her overarching theme, given that she wants to kind of create poetry of hope and poetry of kind of moments of hope, which is really interesting. But as she gets further in writing these poems, her long term partner gets diagnosed with dementia, and so this kind of pre mourning and this pre loss is what kind of dominates and resonates throughout all of her poems, which I think is really interesting.
Right. Yeah. No, that's it's a strong introduction to understand that quite personal level of grief. Right. She's grieving on a more universal level, I guess. But was he a writer as well? I think another partner.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Let's read. Please take us away, dearly.
It's an old world, fading now. Dearly did I wish, dearly did I long for. I loved him dearly. I make my way along the sidewalk mindfully because of my wrecked knees, about which I give less of a shit than you may imagine. Since there are other things more important, wait for it, you'll see. Bearing half a coffee, in a paper cup with, dearly do I regret it, a plastic lid, trying to remember what words once meant. Dearly. How is it used? Dearly beloved. Dearly beloved, we are gathered. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here in this forgotten photo album I came across recently. Fading now. The sepias, the black and whites, the colourful prints. Everyone so much younger. The Polaroids. What is a Polaroid? Asks the newborn. Newborn a decade ago. How to explain? You took the picture and then it came out the top. The top of what? Is that baffled look I see a lot. It's so hard to describe the smallest details of how, all these dearly gathered together of how we used to live. We wrapped up garbage in newspaper tied with string. What is newspaper? You see what I mean? String, though. We still have string. It links things together. A string of pearls. That's what they would say. How to keep track of the days. Each one shining, each one alone, each one then gone. I've kept some of them in a drawer on paper. Those days fading now. Beads can be used for counting, as in rosaries, but I don't like stones around my neck. Along this street there are many flowers, fading now because it is August and dusty and heading into fall. Soon the chrysanthemums will bloom, flowers of the dead in France. Don't think of this as morbid, it's just reality. So hard to describe the smallest of details of flowers. This is a starman, nothing to do with men. This is a pistol, nothing to do with guns. It's the smallest of details that foil translators, and myself too, trying to describe. See what I mean? You can wander away, you can get lost. Words can do that. Dearly beloved, gathered here together in this closed drawer, fading now. I miss you. I miss the missing, those who left earlier. I miss even those who are still here. I miss you all dearly. Dearly do I sorrow for you. Sorrow. That's another word you don't hear much anymore. I sorrow dearly.
Wow. Need a second for that one. Well, a beautiful poem and read beautifully as well. Thank you for that, Theo. Well, I mean, it's obviously quite a poignant poem, as you say, about the theme of loss and grief. Uh, it is, we could sort of say, would you say an elegy is a fair word? A kind of funereal poem, not really funereal poem, but a kind of, would you call it a memory? What's the Latin phrase I'm looking for?
Yeah, memento mori. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, of course. Sorry, embarrassing. Yeah, go on. Is that fair? Memento mori for this poem?
That this is the thing. It's got this kind of surrounding of mournfulness, but Atwood kind of tells us that this anthology and this poem is a memento vita, and it's this celebration of life, and
Yeah.
you've got to remember that all of these are written before the death of her husband, and she talks before her husband died. He was already mourned. He was already kind of lost, and I think the themes running through this poem, are kind of the fading. I mean, the first line, it's an old word, fading now. She was writing at a time. I think this was 2017. She was writing, and she was in Stratford, and she was thinking a lot about Shakespeare, and had been going to see Shakespeare, and was walking down the street thinking about kind of the transience of language and its ability to kind of to appear and to be powerful and to be a power of moment, and then its ability to be kind of transient and fade away. And I guess this is why I think I really, really enjoy this poem, is because its themes are so kind of intertwined beautifully. It's like it's an overlapping aspect of themes. I've written down a quote that she talks about her poetry, and says, we're caught in time's current. It moves, it leaves things behind. I think this kind of transient and brevity that life has is what she really, really focuses on, as kind of a celebration, not of a mourning. But you're right to say that this surrounding of sorrow is there, but it's not what she wants us to focus on, I think is.
Yes. No, that's very good. I suppose, I mean, we're talking a bit about biography with all this in context, aren't we? And it's I'm interested in what you think about it, because a fellow Canadian writer, Alice Munro, quite memorably put it as like, writers often start off with this, what she called starter dough, from the real world, from their life, their context, their own experience that they're pouring in. So in Atwood's case, the gradual decline of her husband's, her partner, his health, and but this starter dough rises from the pan into a cake, which is an entirely different confection altogether. This is kind of what Alice Munro writes about literary creation. Do you feel that Atwood's cakes, so to speak, look quite different from the starter dough?
Most definitely, and she really kind of resonates on this, and she talks about kind of the power of her work being in a history and a moment, but she doesn't place the power of what it becomes on the work itself, which I think is really, really interesting, and what you're talking about, because when she talks about, we'll come back to Dearly, but she talks about The Handmaid's Tale, and she says that the power of it isn't through her writing of it. It's through this kind of retrospective power that's placed onto it. Because I mean, after she publishes and after she talks about it, you kind of get the repeal of Roe v. Wade and things like that, and you get this power that's placed back onto a dystopia, which I think she really likes to sit within. And she writes talking about Dearly. She says, "For whom does the bell?" Sorry, I'll start that one again. "For whom does the bell toll? For you, dear reader. Who is the poem for? Also for you." And it's this kind of the language and the poetry can be used in her context. But by publishing and by releasing it, she's giving it to, and she quotes that it's the people who need it most. And I think that this poem has the ability for that, because it's talking about these things. It's talking about this kind of this ability for it to go back. And nature works so well in this context, because it is there, and its power is through our use of it. However, we can do this well, or as she's criticizing, we can do this wrongly.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I love a bit of meta. It's nice when we kind of talk about, what's her intention? What does she think when she's writing the poem, right? Why does it hold value? Yeah, that's really good. So, gosh, there's a lot about language. Have you got anything more to say about the kind of loss of language, the wandering of language in a poem like Dearly?
Yeah. So she talks a lot about kind of dearly, this word that's got so much kind of context to it, and is her kind of lamenting the other properties it has, and I think the the wandering, as he said, is the poetic understanding. She says about how long walks turn into rumination, and that then turns into poetry. I think that's something that really resonates in the sense that without, and I think we'll go on to talk about this more in the second poem, but without this kind of this ability, this space of which we work within, we cannot kind of get the result and get the kind of rumination that gives us the ability to talk about it. And she talks about in the halfway through this poem about string. String, though we all have string, it links things together, and I think the poem itself acts in that way. It ties her kind of wanderings down Stratford. She goes from talking about her sore knees and her kind of meanderings, and then it itself kind of meanders to her sorrow. And it's this kind of this power that it places back on it that I think is really important.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. And it's almost a poem you need in front of you as well, printed, isn't it? Because
Definitely.
you can actually see that the lines meander a bit. When you think about the sort of, in the third stanza, there's this repeated kind of what do you call this, end stopped punctuation with the dashes. Because
Yeah, it's
it
kind of
seems to conflict with this idea of it ruminating and flowing and meandering, but suddenly we've got this disjunction,
yeah.
if that's what you think.
Yeah, most definitely. I think she plays on that. She plays on that word of dearly again. She says, "Dearly do I regret it, a plastic lid," and it's kind of she's talking about this kind of as she moves through and as she understands what's going on. These things do jut out, and they are moments. They are moments that kind of make you reflect. But the
Yeah.
string carries on. It doesn't stop there. The end stop creates pauses, and
Yeah.
the pauses cause the suffering, but the string moves on and we're all still connected. I think going back to talking about her her partner, he was diagnosed in 2012 with vascular dementia, and when she's writing this in 2017, she's walking around having left him in the home, and he's still stable, and she writes about this and talks about
Yeah.
this, that he was still very stable, but there's this kind of inevitability about it. The doctors say kind of it can happen, it could happen now, or it could happen in a few weeks. And I think
Mm.
she really talks about, through her poetry, about this kind of the pre-morning, yes, but the kind of the fear of a moment being any moment. I think that gives you a sense of the brevity that she's kind of working with.
Excellent. Yes. No, really, really helpful. And that it's yeah, it's a great what she does with language and loss in this poem. Perhaps two words that sum it up. Maybe that's a bit reductive. I don't know. What would you if you could sum it up in two words? Let's be reductive. What would you go for?
I think to take her word of fading, I think encapsulates it really well. And then I think a word connected would kind of not quite contrast it, but really
Mm.
show the two tensions going on at the same time and how she sees the poetry as kind of prominent in that. Yeah, fading and connected, I'd say.
Yes. What a poem. Brilliant. Okay. I think we should look at another one because not many people seem to know or recognize Atwood as much of a poet. They really like The Handmaid's Tale, rightly so, and her other novels as well. But let's showcase her talent once more with another poem called "If There Were No Emptiness." Is that the one? Is that the one we're going with? Lovely.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, choice.
If there were no emptiness, there would be no life. Think about it. All those electrons, particles, and whatnot, crammed in next to each other like junk in an attic, like trash in a compactor, smashed together in a flat block, so there's nothing but plasma. No you, no me. Therefore I praise vacancy. Vacant lots with their blowing plastics and teasels. Vacant houses, their furs of dust. Vacant stairs, blue as the sky through windows. motels with the word vacancy flashing outside, a neon arrow pointing at the path to be taken, to the board front desk, to the key-shaped key on the dangling brown leather key folder, the key that opens the vacant room, with its scored linoleum floor a blear-eyed yellow, its flowery couch and wilted cushions, its sway-backed bed, smelling of bleach and mildew, its stuttering radio, its ashtray that was here 70 years ago. That room has been static for me so long. An emptiness, a void, a silence containing an unheard story, ready for me to unlock. Let there be plot.
Very good. Very well read again. Thank you. If there were no emptiness, what's going on? What's it about? Tell me.
So it starts with this kind of physical statement that I guess that without space that nothing can kind of be. And I think it's quite a nice image to then move on to. And I think it becomes something a lot more kind of philosophical and a lot more personal for her, that without space nothing can kind of come of something. Without kind of vacancy that she talks about, nothing, the emptiness provides something to be worked into. So space is obviously something that's really important here, and it kind of creates possibility. Like she speaks of the unheard story. I guess it's the story being told that it creates. And that final line, "Let there be plot," I think is really, really interesting. She wishes for narrative. She wishes for kind of the unfolding. The potential.
It's not let there be light. Sorry to interrupt. It's not let there be light, is it? It's let there be plot.
Yes, exactly. It's understanding what could be and then allowing it to happen, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, no, it's very good. Now, talk to me a bit about kind of nature and indecipherability, if that's even a word, in a poem like this.
Yeah, so she talks about kind of space, and this is part of obviously of an eco-critical anthology that she's worked, and it's the sense that if there were no kind of space within the natural world, there'd be no life, and also there'd be kind of no purpose in life as well. That the kind of the space presents an opportunity for something, and she talks about kind of the furs of dust, and this lovely image of kind of this the kind of the brackeny plant just kind of there as particles, there as dust, and really kind of works in with this image of vacancy, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, no, very good. So, vacancy, loss, history. Is there something to be said about a sense of, is it phenomenology or something like that in this poem?
Yeah, so something I've been working on here for quite a bit of time is talking about like the phenomenological connection between text and reader. So to kind of explain that and unpick that a bit more, it's kind of its ability to kind of give experience, give a kind of a dialogue between the text and the reader. It's Atwood talks a lot about this, about the poem being there for those who need it, as we've said before, and I think it really resonates with a dialogue between the text as like a physical entity. And I guess potentiality, I think, was a kind of word that really came up for me. She talks a lot about contemporary politics as quite unyielding and uncompromising in her views. And I think this poetry speaks to that in that way. I think she speaks a lot about how politics has to surround her work. Not that it's kind of obsessively about it, but it's there, it's present, and it always has to be. And I think her talking about loss and talking about regret and looking at kind of contextual situations and talking a lot about maybe American politics and saying that within the space, within the chaos that space is, within the emptiness that space is, there's the ability for something to be revitalized, something to be reclaimed. And
Right.
I think that's what we kind of get taught through nature as well, that through the kind of bare and barren, there's an ability for something to sprout. There's an ability for something to be reclaimed, which I
And what
think
is that?
really is really spoken through this poem.
What do you think that something is? I was going to ask. That's something to be revitalized.
So I think for me, and for obviously at the moment with what I'm working on at the moment, it is looking back through history and looking back through the kind of chaos and disruption that has occurred, and looking and seeing how that has an ability to be reclaimed through kind of the present and through moments of present. But I guess in the sense that it can really be subjective, and that's quite beautiful in it. In the kind of brokenness, in the nothingness, there's potentiality for everything, and I think that subjectivity is what she's clinging to when she talks about hope. And this poem is a poem of hope, which I mean, let there be plot. She's saying just let it be, let kind of let things occur from the nothingness, from the emptiness, which I think is the kind of the philosophy that she's trying to push and make us understand.
Yeah. And successfully so, you would argue.
I think it really does. Its ability to kind of individualize and I'll keep going back to the sense that she says this poetry is for you, dear reader. She can use it to lament. She can use it to kind of pre-grieve as she speaks about it. But it's really it's an emptiness to us, and it's for what we can turn it into. It's the key that opens the vacant room. We have to take that and understand that the silence is what we must step into, step from as well. I think is really interesting.
That's great. And holding on to that idea of this poetry is for you, dear reader. Theo, how is Atwood's poetry for you? Why is she one of your favourite poets? What does she mean to you?
A lot in different ways. And I think the poetry itself allows a kind of a space in which we interpret, and it become very kind of subjective in our interpretation. And it has that very multi-layered meaning to it. Her personally, I think it's this unrelenting, unyielding agnosticism that she kind of forwards. She's very critical of kind of contemporary America and kind of nationalistic Christianity, and she talks about kind of the abandonment of morality, of Christian morality, and her standing point of unwavering agnosticism, a desire to separate entirely knowledge and belief, knowledge and faith, and saying that when these two are melded and blended, that's when danger occurs. And I think I really, really resonate with that. And I think that this kind of unequivocal message is really important to us today.
Thank you so much. You've been amazing. Is there anything more you want to add? Maybe things Atwood have said herself. What she means for us in the big 2026.
I think she is very relevant and will continue to be relevant. We talked about kind of the retrospective value that is placed on her works. I mean, she's called the fortune teller, and apart from her passion in reading palms, I don't think that's quite right. I think what people are mistaking is for fortune telling is an obsession with detail, and I think in 2026 that is a very, very big message. Detail. She is only able to create literature that resonates so much with the present because she understands the past so unbelievably well. Everything written in The Handmaid's Tale, everything written in her poetry, everything written in her other novels all substantiated through what has been. She doesn't write anything that there's not a record of, and I think that's really interesting. I mean, her desire for detail comes back to living. She lived in Quebec with her father, who was a researcher, and she didn't go to school until the age of 12. All she watched and observed was his unrelenting and unyielding attention to detail. She speaks of a story of collecting samples from a tree and watching the care which he takes to do such a thing is so important. Within an age that knowledge and kind of information is everywhere, detail and rigor, I think, is something that's really, really watered. And so I think, to kind of finalize her kind of image and her point, I think would be ending on a quote from her that we'll have to earn our existence in this world. We have to earn the right to exist in this world. And her final image that kind of shrouds all of the kind of melancholia that is in her work is "Let us all hope." And I think that's something that really resonates and is really important.
Yeah, let us all hope, indeed. Theo, you've been absolutely amazing. It's been an honour to have you on Bowl of Ideas. I hope that we have provided a forum for everyone listening. In fact, a bowl of ideas with Margaret Atwood today. Thank you, Theo.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.